I'm not going to think you're a dickhead for keeping a VHS that your grandma gave you, okay? Because God knows we all miss our nonas, you know what I'm saying? All right, let me talk to you here for a second. It is I, His Holiness, J. Bone Capone. I am the movie monk. I'm here to bless you with some fucking knowledge today. And I'm going off the cuff. I'm going unscripted, which usually ends poorly. I will admit. I'm big enough to admit it. Usually does not end well when I go off the cuff, unscripted. I don't even have any notes. But this is a topic I've been thinking about for some time. And with some dismay, it has come to my attention over the past, I don't know, it's been maybe even a couple of years now, that VHS is becoming something of a collector's item. It's become something of a hot commodity again. As odd as that seemed to me at the beginning, I have noticed VHS, such as this one here. This is a apparently rare VHS copy of Videodrome that's going for $50 on Facebook Marketplace, which I mean that's $50 of my cocaine money. Why would I want to spend $50? Anyway, I might be getting ahead of myself there. I would rather spend the $50 on drugs. Let's put it that way. I have noticed also people on the internet, on YouTube and other places, forums, subreddits, talking about how they are buying VHS again. They're collecting VHS again. And I want to come out right now. I want to bravely come out as thinking that that's fucking dumb. It's big dumb. VHS is shit. It's a shit. It's a shit format, and it's a dead format. VHS, my thesis statement of this video is that VHS is not the new vinyl. VHS is bad, and spending $50 or more on VHS is a useless waste of money. It could be better spent elsewhere. You should donate that money to a worthy cause if there's nothing else that you need in your life, okay? Put that money away for your college, for your kids' college or something, instead of spending it on VHS, literally just buying plastic junk. So let me expound on my thesis. The reason why VHS is not the new vinyl, and you guys might be looking at the computer right now saying, yeah, it is, Jason, it's the new vinyl. It's not. It's not the new vinyl. For one thing, vinyl sounds good. VHS doesn't look good. It never did. We only used VHS because we had to. That was really the only affordable, practical game in town in the 80s and the bulk of the 90s. Yeah, Laserdisc existed. Fine. Okay. Fine. But don't DM me talking about how Laserdisc was a thing. Just keep sending me dick pics instead in the DMs. Because, yeah, Laserdisc was a thing. They were also $200 each, and they didn't rent them at Blockbuster. So nobody fucking had Laserdisc. Everybody had fucking VHS, because even though VHS were kind of expensive back then too, they were like $50, you could at least go to Blockbuster to rent the movie before you bought it. And in fact, that's what most people did. Most people just went and rented it. Most people didn't own 500 VHS. Most people owned 10 or 12. They went to Blockbuster for the rest. That's the first reason. The first reason is it looks like shit. It always looked like shit. And we only ever used VHS because it was the only game in town. You better believe if we had Blu-ray or 4K, if we had UHD, if we had Dolby Vision on a 4K Samsung in 1987, we would have thrown the VHS players into the river. And who gives a shit about the pollution? We would have broken our necks sucking our own dicks to get 4K with a fucking OLED TV. We would have killed for it. We used VHS because that was it. That was the only option we had. We didn't fucking watch VHS because we liked it. That's number one. But here's the clincher for why it's not the new vinyl, why VHS is not the new vinyl. VHS is a dead format. It is. Even though people like DeGoss or Vinegar Syndrome are putting out VHS, and they are, there's still some new VHS. There was a Terrifier VHS that was in Walmart earlier this year. I think there was Umbrella recently included a VHS of a particular cut of Late Night with the Devil with their release of that film as kind of a tchotchke. But regardless, it's still a dead format. And let me tell you why. Nobody fucking makes VHS players. The hardware is not being manufactured anymore. There's not a company out there, Pioneer, Panasonic, nobody. Nobody's making them. You can't go to Target and buy a new VHS player right now. You have to buy a pre-owned VHS player on eBay, on Amazon, something like that. What about vinyl? I can go buy an Audio-Technica turntable, right, with a a phono out, as it has been for decades, as well as a Bluetooth out that I can just hook up to my Bluetooth headphones, and I can listen to records. On top of the fact that they are producing new records these days, a lot more than they're making VHS. That's kind of a wash because they are making new VHS, and I acknowledge that. But I can go buy a turntable, an Audio-Technica turntable from Target right now. They're in stock at the Target. I can just drive up, grab it, buy it, walk out, and within an hour, I could be listening to my vinyl collection. Also, vinyl sounds good. VHS never looked good. Vinyl actually sounds good when you listen to vinyl. There is an analogy that people make between VHS and vinyl, that they both have this kind of nostalgic character. Vinyl has the little crackles and pops. It has that sort of warm sort of undertone of, it's not as glossy as an MP3, as streaming. It has that sort of fuzz to its character. And that is an appeal to a lot of people who listen to vinyl, and that appeals to me as well when I pop on an old vinyl, 40-year-old vinyl, 50-year-old vinyl that belongs to my mom, or used to until I fucking stole it. Sorry, Mom. But VHS has a similar quality. I've seen people draw analogies to this, that some of the tracking lines and some of the noise on the screen is reminiscent of the crackles and pops. I will say, though, that in the case of VHS, I believe it detracts from the experience. Whereas with a record, I don't believe that a little bit of crack, although I have a 35-year-old Starship record that I stole from my father-in-law, and it hurts me that Starship record doesn't work, because one of the songs, I don't know if it's "We Built This City" or whatever the song is, it fucking skips really bad, that one track, and it's like one of their like big hits off that record, and it hurts me a little bit that it skips bad. It's very difficult to listen to. So it's bad enough that the record's unplayable. I don't play the record as a result of that. With VHS, I feel like your average VHS is about that level of, it just fucks with you. The experience fucks with you, and it's panned and scanned. Look, VHS is very seldom, until the maybe mid to late 90s, they really weren't presented in their original aspect ratio. So pretty much any VHS, I don't know, 85% of VHS are pan and scanned, and that'll lead me into my next topic. But it fucks with the original intent of the filmmaker. When you watch The Graduate panned and scanned, it's a far cry from what was intended and what was originally seen by viewers. I think with home video, we want to achieve a fidelity that is very close to the original, what would have been a 35 millimeter viewing experience. And I think that with the higher definition formats that are available today on widescreen, modern television monitors, OLED or not, QLED, whatever you got is going to be a lot closer to the original presentation that you would have seen at a theatrical screening of like a 35 millimeter print of that film versus VHS. So that brings me to my next point, which was to say that they're panned and scanned so that they would fit a 4:3 television, because home viewing of films has always been an ecosystem. You have a format, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray. You have a format, you have a player, like a VHS player or a Panasonic UB820, something that you can put physical media into that will play that, read that physical media, and then distribute a signal to the television monitor that you're using. And then you've also got the television monitor. You need something to watch that content on. Possibly you might expand your ecosystem with, speaker systems and stuff like that, but most of that stuff isn't, strictly speaking, necessary. You'll get audio from the video monitor in 99% of cases. And that was the case back then when we were using VHS. We were using these large CRT TV monitors. You guys remember these things. If you're old enough, you remember these things. Your grandma probably had one, even if you don't remember having one yourself. Your grandma probably had one. It was the big box TV, very thick glass front. These things would survive nuclear war. And they did not produce a very high definition image. They were fine for VHS. But the fact of the matter is, VHS, the old used VHS players that you're buying, they were intended to be used with a 4x3 CRT TV that did not come with fucking HDMI inputs. So are you buying an old Sony VHS player from 1997 that has an HDMI out to your fucking modern day television? Probably not. You're probably having to create, not only are you having to buy VHS, but you're having to recreate that old ecosystem as well, which means you need a whole second setup in order to watch your VHS. Because if you're not watching the VHS, then that fucking Videodrome, that's a waste of $50, because it's a piece of plastic. If you're not going to watch it, that is a piece of plastic to sit on your shelf. And let's talk about these fucking things sitting on your shelf. That is an image of 10 VHS stacked up next to 10 Blu-rays stacked up. And so, look, having a large physical media collection, it's a thing. It's an awesome thing. It's a great thing. I will say, as a guy who has a pretty decent sized physical media collection. But as a guy who had a lot of VHS, by about 1996, I probably had a couple hundred VHS, some of which I had purchased commercially, but many of which I had recorded from, making illicit copies of Blockbuster rentals and such. I think I'm outside of the statute of limitations. I can admit that I just disregarded those FBI warnings and I made all sorts of copies of everything I rented. What I'm trying to tell you, though, is that VHS take up a fuck ton more space. So however much space you have, it's probably limited. Even very rich people with large houses still have limitations in terms of space. Everybody has limited shelf space, and the VHS is just going to take up more room, period. So is your second TV, so is your second player, your VCR. And I don't know where you're putting these things. I don't know what you're paying to have these things serviced. But the problem with 35-year-old hardware is that it's 35 years old. And, CRT TVs, they rely on convergence and shit like that. You got to have this shit serviced. It's just like taking care of a vehicle or any other appliance. Sometimes you got to have parts replaced. Sometimes you got to have it serviced. And if it's an old unit, it can be very expensive. I tried to have a Yamaha, really nice Yamaha receiver fixed. I tried to have it fixed a couple of years ago because it was nice. It was great. It was in great shape, but there was a part inside it that had broken. And I called the electronics shop up here and I inquired as to what it would take to fix the thing. And they said, we could do it. We'd have to order another unit. And it's an old unit. It's a 20-year-old unit. It's expensive. We'd have to order another unit to take the part out of that unit because you can't just go to Yamaha and get the part anymore because it's been 20 years. Yamaha doesn't even make that part. Electronics at the scale of an audio receiver or a DVD player, a VHS player, they're disposable at this point. They're meant to work for several years, and then a new format comes out and you're supposed to throw a VHS and upgrade to DVD and then Blu-ray and then 4K Blu-ray and then whatever else is going to come next, because you better believe 4K is not the terminal format. In 50 years, there will be something else. There'll probably be 3 other things over the next 50 years. That's how they make money, is they make a good bit of revenue off upgrades as well as selling new shit. So hopefully I have made my point. if I haven't convinced you, because I don't think I made this video to convince you to like sell your VHS collection. Although I do think you should spend that money on drugs or your kids' college. Probably drugs. Drugs would be cooler. Kids' college would be smarter, but drugs would be cooler. At any rate, I don't think you should spend the money on VHS, but if you do, then that's cool. I'm not here to necessarily talk you out of that, but I am here to make my point as to why VHS is a dead format. You can't buy new hardware that plays VHS. So, you're fucked there. And then also VHS looks like shit and nobody ever liked it. We never watched VHS because it was the best. I would much rather watch Batman circa 1989 in the movie theaters at a much higher quality of image and sound than watching it at home on a 27-inch Toshiba that fucking weighed half as much as my dad's Buick. So anyway, VHS suck. They've become popular these days, but you're only buying them because they're popular. It's only because other people on YouTube are like, "Oh, get a VHS." I went thrifting and I found The Land Before Time on VHS for $3. I think there are some exceptions for why when a VHS purchase and or ownership is, at least for me, I would like make an exception. I think if you really love the movie, everybody's got a short list of like 5 or 10 movies that they love, that you really love. That this is a movie that maybe you own on several formats. This is a movie that maybe you collect all of the things around this film, like you've got T-shirts and posters and books and art books and all sort of other shit. I mean, like Studio Ghibli or something like that. Like you got fucking Princess Mononoke everything. You got like Princess Mononoke toothbrush and you got a Princess Mononoke lunchbox and you just love Princess Mononoke. So like your thing is anything that you find, and you found here Miramax in 1998 put Princess Mononoke out on VHS and I got to have it. I have to have it. Okay. I would say that's fine. I would never judge somebody for having that, because if I stumbled upon a decently priced Big Trouble in Little China VHS, I would probably buy it. It's just one of my favorite films that I've been watching my whole life pretty much. So I can understand if you've got a short list of films where you really like, you collect. It's not just the movie, but it's like anything around the movie you're going to buy. I get that. So VHS kind of gets a pass in that case. Or B, there's some other nostalgic value, like grandma gave you this VHS of Terminator 2 on your 10th birthday, and it was your favorite movie for like the next 3 years, and you watched the VHS 100 times, and you don't even think it works anymore, but you kept it because grandma's not here anymore. And she gave that to you, and you loved that movie, and you loved your grandma. And I understand I understand the sentimentality that goes behind something that was given to you as a gift by somebody that you love. And so I'm not going to criticize somebody for having a VHS copy of Terminator 2 that they've kept because there's some sentimental connection to that particular physical object and they don't want to give it up. I understand that as well. So those are two instances where if you have VHS at home, if you have VHS on display, I'm not going to criticize you for that. I'm not going to think you're a dickhead for keeping a VHS that your grandma gave you, okay? Because God knows we all miss our nonas, you know what I'm saying? At any rate, if you are out here on Facebook Marketplace buying $50 copies of fucking Videodrome on VHS, I don't know what to fucking tell you. You need to say a prayer to the Lord and look inside your fucking soul and then do something fucking cool with that money. Like fucking get on a plane, come visit me. Let's fucking trip balls and watch the VHS copy of Terminator 2 that my grandma gave me in 1991. Anyway, I think I've said my piece. I hope I haven't been too incoherent and rambling, but I think I'm pretty sure I'm blacked out now. So I don't know. I'll see you guys in the morning. Peace, fools. Amen, motherfuckers.